the pain and the overwhelm and the chaos that I was hearing from business owners, I was like, you can fix it. Like, there's easy things to do. And so I'd offer advice and they'd be like, oh, that changed, that helped, thank you. And I was like, okay, I'm onto something here.
Wanna cause no problems. I just wanna live my life, but I keep on hearing about nonsense. Me and my dons ain't mobsters, but you know when you see imposters. We know how to read them faces, same way you know how to read them comments. If you wanna talk, let's talk, but around here, make sure you walk and your talk is constant.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Death to Vanilla podcast. I'm your host, Steven Burkhart, and this is Kendi, and I'm so excited you're here. She has a consulting company to help business with their operations. It's something that everyone needs help with, let's be honest. In fact, funny thing is we can always use a little dose of our own medicine. We were talking about how you're improving your business operations, so there's always improvements to be made, and I'm excited for you to talk a little bit about what you do for clients, what you've learned in the process of growing a business. So, without further ado, if you could introduce yourself, brag a little bit, tell us what you're all about.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited for this conversation. So, a little bit about me. I built my career in the tech startup space, and then after leaving there, found a huge need for business owners, especially here in Arizona, where they're growing really fast and having a lot of success, but then they just get stuck. So I was like, well, I have some wacky set of skills. I think I can help. And Quality Consulting was born, and that what leads me to here.
That's awesome. So what exactly was it that you ended up seeing? Were people just hitting ceilings? Were they just not knowing where to start? Like, what kind of ended up being the thing that you're like, okay, I need to do something about this?
Yeah, what I really saw was everyone that I talked to, and I'd ask like, hey, how's business going? And it was like, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
There's no getting out of the to-do list, and I should probably hire someone, but I don't know when. And AI is a big thing, and so I feel like I should use AI in my business, but they don't even have process documentation. And so the pain and the overwhelm and the chaos that I was hearing from business owners, I was like, you can fix it. Like, there's easy things to do. And so I'd offer advice and they'd be like, oh, that changed, that helped, thank you. And I was like, okay, I'm onto something here. So I just want to help people.
Right. No, that's fair. And I think, like, I don't know how you feel about it, but like as a business owner, like I have such a bleeding heart for people like me, which is really any other business owner, because it's like, every day you wake up and it's like, how can I make my dream work? And how can I put food on the table with that dream, and maybe put it on other people's tables too, you know? Right. And so for me, it's like, I get so sad when someone's dream isn't working out, and like, there's not some inherent flaw per se. It's just like, they just need to get a couple ducks in a row, and then like things could be much, much better. But man, it's like, the one guy, Mike Michalowicz, I don't know if you ever heard of him. He's a book author, but he talks about entrepreneurial, what does he call it? I literally had the word in my head and I just forgot it.
It's the worst when that happens.
I know. Good thing we edit this, man.
Oh, good thing.
Well, I can't think of it now, so I guess we'll just have to end that thought. Entrepreneurial, what is it called?
It's going to drive you nuts now.
It really will bother me. It's not debt. It's like, wow. Anyways.
Do you know what book it is?
No, well, it's something he says in some of his videos. I want to say it was in Clockwork. But it's kind of like he's not really clear about what he's all about, and he's just getting a little bit better at it. And so his like new tagline is like, I defeat entrepreneurial. Anyways, basically the concept is around the idea that like you basically create your own system where you're like your own slave again. Where like you just have there's like, you basically created the worst job ever. Because like sometimes you're not making very good money, you're like losing sleep at night, and it's like, it's rough. And so having operations is super huge. So obviously like, I don't know what everyone's frame of reference is, but for consulting, sometimes it feels like someone's just dropping by and giving you some advice and taking off. So how do you guys differ from like a normal consulting firm?
Yeah, the point you just made is why we're so different, is because we don't just fly by and say, hey, here's a wealth of expertise, and I'm going to just like deposit it to you and good luck. We do all of the heavy lifting. And so we become true partners with our clients of saying, hey, we know you're overwhelmed. We know you have big goals and big dreams. Let me just take that all off of your plate and we'll do it for you, because this is what we do every day, all the time, and we're truly the experts. So that's one of the things that I think is our biggest strength, is we're willing to dive in and do anything and everything to help a business owner succeed in the world of operations. So that to me is our biggest value.
So does it sort of become like a pseudo group COO situation, or like how does that work in practice for you guys?
Yeah, basically we're a ops excellence team for hire.
Okay.
So
that sounds lovely.
Yeah. So what, and we have a lot of frameworks and methodologies and the big toolbox that we get to bring to our business owners, and just sit down and understand, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? And then we find out, okay, what is happening in the business? What assumptions have been made? What is breaking? We call them limiting factors, where, okay, if you want to 10x your business or even double your business or even grow by 10%, what's stopping you from doing that? And sometimes as business owners, we have blinders on, right? Like we don't know, because everything feels like it's going to stop us. And so we figure out what those limiting factors are, figure out the plan, and then it's a choose your own adventure. Like, can you fix that yourself? Can you DIY it? Or do you need somebody like us to do it for you, so you can just check that task off and move on to what you're supposed to be doing, which is revenue generating activities of the business,
right?
Versus doing process documentation or building systems or tools. Let the experts do that. Which
are important, but like, if that's like, that's usually not what business owners are built for. Well, because it's like the tip, I don't know, at least this is what I've seen. Like, typically what happens is, like, a business owner gets good at something, then they scale that thing that they're good at, which now gives them a lot of other jobs that they're not good at, right? Which is those processes and systems and stuff like that, where it's like, man, I'm good at baking brownies, but not good at managing 10 employees. You know what I mean? But that's kind of like the natural progression of what ends up happening, is like, you're like, how can I make more brownies? Well, I have to hire people. And then like it introduces all these like new things. And then you find out that it's actually really hard to explain to someone how to break brownies, because you've been doing it by yourself for 10 years. And it's like, that's part of those systems, I think, and SOPs and stuff that like, oof, hard.
It really is. And the visual of business owners, you're wearing all of the hats. You're making that hat look really awful. Take it off, leave it aside, give it to somebody else. But even acknowledging when your hat is looking really bad can be hard without somebody coming alongside you and keeping you accountable, or asking the tough questions to do that. Because we are really great at what we do, and we've built something really fantastic, and then it's time to grow and time to scale, and that's your signal that it's time to bring the experts on board and make you look really, really good in the hats that you are supposed to be wearing. Right, for sure. Right, because those are the money-making hats. Absolutely, 100%.
So what has been, I'm asking questions out of order here, but like, as far as, for me, I'm always like surprised in different ways, like on the marketing end, like the other day I watched a podcast with Seth Godin where he was like, I've sat in seats with people who run Fortune 100 companies and they don't have a strategy for their marketing, like an intentional strategy. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, I am not crazy for not always having a plan. Like, people who are way more successful like are struggling with very similar things. So anyway, so that's been my experience when it comes to being surprised when I work with people. What have you found surprising when you sat down and worked with people? Have there been common issues that people have that like nobody's talking about, or like, you know what I mean? Like, like help people feel like they're not on crazy pills. You know what I mean? Like, what have you discovered?
Totally. So starting from a little bit of the ooey gooey side, I am so surprised by the acceptable pain tolerance we allow ourselves to have as business owners and in our operations. The way I look at it is, our operations is the one thing we fully control. Right? It's our people, it's our processes, it's our systems. We don't have customers, or we don't have, there's so many things that is in our control within our operations. And yet that is always the thing that's on fire, that feels broken. Like, why are you okay with the chaos?
Right.
Like, I don't understand why we have to wear that as a badge of honor as entrepreneurs.
Right, because that makes us busy.
Right? It feels good to be overwhelmed, and you can talk to your friends about like, oh my gosh, this week, and we get a lot of just like weird joy from that, and so that surprises me a lot of how much we're okay with the pain, and frankly, how much pain we're okay with our team dealing with on a regular basis. And so when I strip those layers back to understand like why do we have this pain tolerance, it's because it's the unsexy things about the business, right? No one wants to write process documentation, right? We always think we're gonna do it, but we never do.
Right. And that's actually what gets me out of bed in the morning.
Oh, I spotted you as soon as I walked in. I was like, oh, he's a process documentation.
He writes SOPs.
Right. And so not that it's not surprising, but it's surprising that we have such a low bar, and then our team suffers for it, our customers suffer for it, and then we're just okay not fixing it.
Yeah.
Because we think we're going to, and we never do, because there's something else. And underneath that, it's the surprising things is how much business owners say they love technology and don't actually do technology right.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So for example, we're talking about SOPs.
Sure.
There's a ton of really great tools that can write your SOPs for you, or as you're doing the work.
Okay, yeah.
And folks were like, I dabbled in a tool, but it never stuck.
Oh, yeah.
Because it takes time to learn them, understand how to use it, integrate. And so even though someone's like, please use all the tech, that doesn't actually happen in reality. And so it's always surprising. I get really jazzed. I'm like, oh, you love technology. We're going to do great things. And then I open up the box. I'm like, you don't love technology at all.
You like Gmail.
100%. Yeah.
Right.
So those are like the two big things of we're okay with being in the overwhelm and in the chaos every day, and we're not doing anything to fix it, even though we can.
Yeah.
And then when it actually comes to tools that are going to make us better, we don't find the time to invest in that.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I mean, I think in playing devil's advocate, I've definitely felt where it's like overwhelming to then like, okay, like I have this problem now, I need to go through and sit through and go to 5 different websites and try to figure it out. Then I got to do demos and do all the things. And then I'm like, oh shoot, like I can't afford that, or I can, but like, I don't know. But yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I worked for a company for a while that was a hot mess operationally. And it was really frustrating to the point where, it was like a service job. We'd show up to someone's house to get something done. And it was actually hilarious if it was what was described. Like it was that unusual. Which, part of that is like when jobs are complicated, customers don't always understand, and so they think you're showing up for XYZ, but you're not, but it's not really your fault. But it was literally comical if it was right. And so for me, I get actually kind of like a decent amount of anxiety from realizing that like I don't want that experience for the people who work for me.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's a lot of pressure because like, again, it's like one of those things where like you sit down and you do something, you explain to someone else what you do, and you don't even know the pieces that are missing until they're like, well, I was going to deliver this, but I don't know this piece. And you're like, oh, I guess I just kind of assumed you were just going to figure that out. I don't know why, but there you are. And then now this project's behind and it's like a whole thing. And so I get that. I feel that anxiety a lot where it's like, you really have to stay on top of getting communication from the people who work for you to like continue to iterate the process.
Totally. And I think what you said, I assumed you knew.
Right.
Right? Because we find really smart and talented people, and frankly, we get to find really cool rock stars in our business, and they do give us a lot of relief, but we oftentimes give them so much that we forget that they don't have our brain, and we have to build a system and structure to basically pipe our brain to the rest of the team so they can do their best work. But it's that assumptions that we don't always understand that we make every day.
For sure.
Because we're just busy. We got a lot going on. We got to move fast, execute quickly.
Well, it's different when you're also the decision maker because like if it doesn't go quite how you thought, but you're still okay with it, like you're the one that signs off.
Right.
When they're working for you, they need to feel confident that this was the right move. And if they don't have that from you, then they don't really know where they sit. And that's an awkward place to be, to like, did I make my boss happy? Did I not? I don't know, and I had no way of knowing.
That is exactly it. And us as entrepreneurs, we love the overwhelm, we love the chaos. I mean, that's why we even decided to go into business, right? Because we're risk takers. We know we'll figure it out. We can do whatever needs to be done, but that's not an employee's mindset, right? They want to know how to win the day. What do you expect from me? How do I make the right decisions when they come up? And how do I know that I'm doing the right job? And we forget that people love structure. Yes. They really do. And it doesn't have to be micromanaging.
Sure.
But they just want to, okay, what if I walk in on Monday, what am I supposed to be doing today? What happens next week? Right. But for us,
I've never known.
Right. And so when we think about a disconnect and just how we all operate, that's day one. As soon as you bring on your first employee, first hire, there's already a disconnect happening just by the amount of overwhelming chaos we're okay with versus the structure needed for our team. For sure.
Well, I love that you guys take on so much of the heavy lifting, because I think the one thing that I've discovered, especially in the age that we're in, which is like the post-information age or whatever you want to call it, is like there is no shortage of good ideas.
Right.
It's not like I can't go look something up and find out some great solutions. But at the end of the day, I don't know if they're the right solutions. I don't know if it's the right time for those solutions. I don't even know if I've implemented them correctly. And quite frankly, I don't have time. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of like one of those things where like having you come in and kind of swoop in and be able to take care of that is nice, because it's like, you know, even if they could come up with the right, you know, we're talking about this off camera, it's like even if they could come up with the right solution, it doesn't necessarily mean they even have time to implement it. I mean, realistically, like no matter what size company you have, there are team limitations, there are resource limitations. And so whether you're a solopreneur and you are strained because like you're trying to hit the financial barrier to hire someone, there's a rub there. If you if you're, you know, a COO in a company and you need to expand, but your team is as big as it can get, and blah, 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 like you have limitations and you've got to be able to expand. And so I feel like you guys are a great fit no matter where someone is in business, because there's always limitations and you can help break through those.
Absolutely, right? We focus on the limiting factors and knock those out of the park and do it in a way that you don't even notice us there. Right? Like we can do everything in the background and make sure that your team doesn't get affected by it, that you don't have to get affected by it. And it just allows you to get to the next level so much faster and with a lot less heartache. But I mean, it's people, process, and systems, right? This isn't rocket science. We're not developing some latest drug or craziness. It's people, process, and systems. Doesn't mean you can't do it. But to your point, is it the right process or system and the right way to think about hiring people, and how fast can you actually get this done? For sure. Because again, it's your internal operations. This is the engine of your company. And again, we're okay if it's on fire, which is crazy.
I know. Well, you know, that's a weird thing. Once you have a plan, it almost feels weird that you do, because you're like, I guess I don't have to think about what I'm going to do today. I'm just going to do this thing.
What a wild dream to have. Yeah.
I know. So I'm going to put you on the spot. Yeah. And if you can't think of one, that's totally fine. But like, as far as like, well, I have a couple questions. One is that like, I'd be curious. So you would say like the main low hanging fruit is the systems. Okay, documenting the systems. Can you tell me like, I want to hear like a dope success story. I want to hear something wild. Do you have something wild?
I might have a couple things.
Okay.
But, so I will do two stories if you don't mind.
I'm all ears.
First one from my tech startup days. Working, you know, in operations. It is crazy how much you can build and do with limited dollars and limited functionality. We are running 100+ people org doing huge volume in a very regulated compliance state with Zapier, with macros.
Dude, I can't imagine how much Zapier was making off of you guys.
Oh, it was
since
probably
it's like per action.
Ridiculous. Oh, totally. And this was before the UI was super clean. Like you were writing the Zap codes, and it was, looking back at it, I was like, how in the world did we do that? And also deliver at a super high quality at a low cost, and outperform a lot of other business units in the company that had resources. So that was absolutely wild to see that blossom. And then on, as we've been doing our consulting work, it is was really incredible to see a solopreneur say, I am capped out. I have built this business, I am capped out. I know I want to grow, but it's me and one other person, and I feel stuck.
Yeah.
Okay. So we were able to identify every single process that the team and the solopreneur was doing. And we're like, oh, well, yeah, no wonder you feel like this. You are responsible for 70% of your core process.
Yeah.
No wonder you're just over it and feeling like you can't grow and say yes to spending time with your family. And we identified that we could get that down to 15%.
Oh, wow.
We were able to do that in 4 months using people, process, and systems.
Dang.
Like, that is incredible. That changed her outcome. And at the end, she's like, I have hope.
Yeah.
I can see now how I am going to leave a legacy for myself and for my business and be able to truly become the founder, the business owner that she wants to be.
Right.
And let her go do what she wants.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I remember, the thing that pops in my head right away is like, I remember someone was like, defining like why burnout happens, and it's like, it's not because things are hard, and it's not even because things are hard for a long time. It's because there's no light at the end of the tunnel.
Oh my gosh.
You know, like there is no
That
hope
is my
of this
soul.
ever getting any better, and so that's when real burnout happens. Certainly before then, you can be tired and exhausted, and
Sure.
you know, maybe even get depressed or whatever. But like, yeah, and so I feel like if you're doing 75% of the, or 70% of the processes, you don't have time to build anything to not do 70%. And so going to 15 must have felt like an actual miracle took place.
You can see the, like that happened.
Yeah.
And again, why are we okay with that feeling every day?
Sure.
Right? We've built and done harder things, and it drives me nuts that success equals like being a slave to our business.
Sure.
Like that's not okay. We've got to do something different, and thinking about what can we control in our operations and figuring out what's our limiting factors and figuring out how to actually get out of that. We got to do that, right? Every business entrepreneur and founder and CEO, that's where we should be focusing our time.
Right.
Of how do we get out of our limiting factors?
Love it. Love it. So from as a business owner, kind of focusing out from what you guys do for others, but for yourselves. So curious, as a marketing person, I'm always curious, like what are people doing for sales and marketing? Like what have you guys done so far to help grow your business that you've found successful that other business owners would love to hear? Yeah,
I am the first one to say I do not wear the marketing and sales hat. Like I do it for my business, but that is the one hat that I'm like, you know, you really have to figure it out and push yourself, because I'm an ops person. Like trying to do that was a huge learning curve for me, and I have so much empathy for our business owners to go through that. And so what I found that I had to change and understand to be successful is it was really taking the spotlight away from me, from my team, from our solutions, from what can we fix for you, to, no, you're the hero. Yeah. Like, you're on your own journey. What are you wanting to do? What are you trying to actually solve from a business perspective, right?
Yeah.
Is it actually revenue? Is it being able to get time away from your business? Is it thinking about selling your business at some point? And what does that look like? Yeah. And as soon as I shifted that to be, no, I'm not the shiny, cool object. Like, I want to know your story. I want to understand where you want to go and really be authentic about that. That changed the way that I look at sales. And luckily, we were successful at that and are able to find their stories and help them see, here's what this means to your actual outcomes versus, I have some really cool processes and here's a cool tool, right? Yeah. Yeah, those are great, but it's allowing whoever's in front of you to be the hero. And you're their sidekick. Yeah. Feels like there's some Donald Miller in there. Just a little bit. Probably. No, literally, like that is literally what I'm all about. I love that you guys have embraced that. I feel the same way. Like I'm literally basing so much of my storytelling in my business off of building a story brand from Donald Miller. Like it's just like the thing that I think a lot of people are missing. And it's not like benefits aren't important. It's not like features aren't important. But as business owners, we're in our own world. Right.
And so we're familiar with the terms, we're familiar with how awesome it is. Like even one of the things that's been really interesting is I realized I'm not necessarily a data-driven person, but all the business owners are. I'm becoming that way. And so for me, it's like, oh, I know video is so valuable, but I have to be able to explain it to someone in a way that they care.
Right.
Because I intrinsically know this, I believe in it, I do it. That's the reason I learned how to shoot. But being able to explain it in a way that's compelling for someone who's looking for some real numbers is way more interesting for them. But at the end of the day, it is right. You're like, what does Donald Miller say? There's like an external struggle and then there's an internal struggle, right? And so the external struggle for you guys is like these systems and processes and people are broken. The internal struggle is like, maybe it's, am I a good business owner? Or like, and when am I ever going to spend time with my family? Or like those other internal things that are happening that are like driving anxiety and upsetness, which doesn't help the business grow at all. And it's so hard. And so being able to position yourself to be able to solve those problems is huge, but it sounds like that is exactly where you guys are headed. So just give me like a little taste. Sure, how exactly are you guys articulating that? Is there like a specific phrase that you guys have used or like kind of like a common way that you're explaining it? So you mentioned the limiting factors, so that's a little part of it, but what other things are you guys like helping visualize the aspirational parts of your services?
Yeah, we always really tailor it to their story and to what they want to do. But how we really look at it is understanding what is happening today in your business. Let's get a wrangle of all of those moving pieces, be able to then bring those limiting factors in and then give you the plan, right? We call it a blueprint, right? You need a blueprint for success. No one can, you can just do things and you'll get somewhere, but are you actually going to be target focused? And so as we have those conversations, it's pulling back are you measuring your success? What does success actually even look like for you? Really understanding how you're going to hold your team accountable, yourself accountable, and then understanding, okay, what is the right plan? And one of the frameworks that we use is understanding what are big bets and what are quick wins. So when it comes to solving business problems, right, it's usually we want to grow, so that increases revenue, increases profits, right? We all want to be able to make a few dollars at the end of the day. It's being able to value family, your time, your freedom away from your business, or it's really thinking about moving on to the next evolution of your business. And so using the framework of what are big bets and what are quick wins, we want to start small and finish fast. So if you can build that momentum through projects, through making changes in your business, but also have time and energy for the big bets that are going to move you to the next level, then that's a really great formula to have a good balance between the two to get you to those outcomes that you're looking for. But it starts with understanding what's happening, what are the limiting factors, and how are you prioritizing, and what are you going to focus on?
For sure. Yeah, it's hard to have the time to prepare yourself for the big wins. That's actually that's been one of the interesting things, and we had talked about AI before. You won't believe the conversations I have with AI. It's like half therapist, half business development for me. But I remember I was like doing some strategy stuff with Claude, because I use Claude instead of ChatGPT, and one of the questions, because like I'll ask it to ask me questions, and one of the questions was, can you handle the 3 times the amount of clients you have now? And I'm like, that's actually a really good question. Like here I am only focused on the goal of, getting more money, which means getting more clients, which means this, like the little waterfall action. And I was like, but can you actually handle 3 times the customers? And I'm like, I don't actually think I can. And so that was like an interesting revelation where it's like one of those things is like, you have business goals. Can you handle it? If you turn on the faucet, can you handle it? And that's huge, because like I definitely had not thought about that. And I think it's because you're fixing the fire right now. This is the fire. And it's like, on the other side of the fire, you're creating a big old fire.
And when you're asking yourself those questions of can you handle it, you can absolutely handle it if you also know when to hire and when to build. And we can't just use gut instinct, because that's a very expensive mistake if you get it wrong, and it affects other people's livelihoods as well. And so as you're thinking about can you handle it, But then how do you know when to make changes? And when is the time to do something different?
When you haven't slept for a month. No, I'm kidding.
Honestly, so that's how we tracked burnout in some of my teams, is how many energy drink cans were on the table.
Ooh, that's
how many
fair.
trips to the coffee. So we could actually see a correlation from caffeine consumption to
So
burnout.
data-driven.
Oh my gosh.
What's
I
your
know.
hours worked to energy drink consumption? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So you can get data from anything.
Yeah,
but
that's fair.
burnout is real and true. And again, for some reason, us entrepreneurs, we have a very, very high pain tolerance for what we're able to handle, which makes us really cool to push the envelope, but that it will come back and get you in physical ways, in your mental ways. It'll affect people that you love.
Yeah.
And so you can't let yourself get past that point.
Yeah, I agree. It's you got to come home and still be somewhat the best version of yourself for everyone you know and love. You can't be just giving people the scraps, and so, I mean, for seasons of time, but it should not be forever.
Correct.
So there are hard seasons, hard seasons, especially like for things you mentioned, like there are some things that are just out of your control. Maybe you get sued. Maybe COVID happened and all your customers are inside now, or maybe any number of things, like even just like the uncertainty of a presidential election, just the uncertainty alone of who is it going to be, not even what are the results of who is going to be, just the fact that that's an unknown causes people to freeze up spending. So then it's like, okay, like, well, what do you do with that? That has nothing to do with me. I can't control that. So yeah, there are definitely seasons where things are hard, but yeah, it definitely shouldn't be forever, and hopefully not your fault. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like you said, they're under your control, so.
Absolutely, and if we have things in our control, those are easy pickings, right? Don't make your life harder, and don't make your business harder than it has to be. It's already hard enough, right?
True
Like we are crazy to sign up for this wild ride, but it is so worth it. But you got to make the right decisions and be thinking forward.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank
I appreciate
you.
it. Where can people connect with you best?
Of course, on all the social media, right? Instagram, LinkedIn, I'm around. But if you're like, oh, I got to talk to Kendi, there's something here, go to my website. You can book a consultation call or just shoot me an email. It's kendi@coaticonsultingco.com. And I'm always happy to have a conversation.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on. Hope
No,
you guys
thank you.
enjoyed. Got some great insights from a business owner who is making an impact not only in her own company, but in others too. And so that's super exciting. So thank you for watching.
Wanna cause no problems. I just wanna live my life, but I keep on hearing about nonsense. Me and my dons ain't mobsters, but when you see imposters, we know how to read them faces, same way you know how to read them comments. If you wanna talk, let's talk, but around here, make sure you walk and your talk is constant.